Get on the train. We're going the abridged version of Erica's anxiety journey. Buckle the fuck up. Hello, and welcome to the Weeder Life podcast. I'm your host, Erica Weederlight, and I am the CEO and founder of Weederlight. I help humans who feel inadequate, broken, self-conscious, and shamed around their sexuality to reclaim their aliveness, their power, and to have a renewed relationship to pleasure while preparing themselves to feel hella confident to date others and themselves. AKA, I'm guiding people to live their #best lives. I have to give you a fair warning. I do unfortunately swear like a drunken sailor, so if you do have little ones by you, just be sure to pop in some earbuds. All right, friends, let's buckle up and let's rock it to this week's episode. Before we jump in, I just have to, pay homage, tip my top hat to the universe for their epic sense of humor. And that's something I've always been like, LOL, pretty good at, being a comedian. No, but being someone that's like, you fucking bitch. I think I remember back when I started the business, I feel like I actually don't know what the fuck it was about, but I wrote an article, I wrote something, and it was like, why the universe is a funny bee. And I think that's it's actually connected to anxiety. It's like having a sense of humor, like the universe sometimes, and honestly, anxiety has such a rude sense of humor. It's funny because I actually was supposed to record this episode last week, but I was having so much anxiety. I was like, I'm going to record this week. And because of certain events, I actually have more anxiety this week. And I was like, okay, that's actually, I'm showing up as my real self. And, that's helpful because I can kind of show, where I am right now. And I was like, all right, Erica, you got this. Let's do this. Let's set up shop here. And immediately as I'm like, all right, here we go. Press record. I hear beep, beep, beep. And people are just screaming outside. We had a light nor'easter. Is that what it's called? A nor'easter? We had lots of snow and rain and sleet. And so all of the people moving the snow are just out pod braying on the street right now. They're doing the sirens. They're doing the alarms. You hear you hear the scraping. You have to sometimes have a sense of humor to it. Otherwise, it's just it's so out of our fucking control. You know what I mean? Because it's oh, of course the day that I'm in a fucking tizzy, then the universe is like, let's have a band outside throwing things. I'm just a part of, the conversation about anxiety is so fucking loaded. It's so nuanced. It reflects in people differently. But for me, and I know a lot of my clients who were talking about this week, it's you gotta have, sometimes there's trauma and all that shit loaded, but with this, what am I going to do? Cry? Now you have a hot beat remix underneath the track, I'm just I got to go with it. I got to roll with it. And you have to have a sense of humor. And I was laughing because when I was, all right, okay, we're recording today. I was like, wow, I am such a method actor. Today I'm we're going to talk about anxiety and I'm feeling the anxiety. I remember, another time, a few times it was I was going to record the podcast and I was like, no, this day or this time is better. And the thing was more up and present for me. So I was like, oh, Erica, you funny bitch. She's such a method actress. And this conversation is so loaded, so nuanced. Anxiety has been something that has affected me. I can't do math, but for a very long time. And that's what we're going to talk about. It evolved and it changed and it evolves and it changes for clients. I actually had a client last week and she's like, thank you for bringing this to my awareness because I just thought, she's like, I've known my anxiety for so long. I know how it manifests in my body. She's like, so I'm so shocked when I hear yours manifest like this and someone it all affects us differently. And that's a huge piece of this conversation is that it ebbs and flows and it comes out in different flavors. And a big piece of it is, knowing it and have the awareness because for so long, and I'll talk to you about my story in a second, I didn't know what the fuck was going on. And now it gives me peace of oh, I was having anxiety. Does that make it go away? No, I wish. But now when I'm in panic, it's less from a place of this is truth. I'm just laughing. Sorry. Again, the universe is a funny bitch day. I just looked up and I Saw a book about anxiety. Wow, we're really on it today. We're really feeling the panic in our bodies. But like I was saying, this ebbs and flows differently. It shows up for people differently. As you can see, for me today, I'm a little bit more scattered. I'm a little bit more all over the place. Like it's manifesting differently even today than it was for me on Saturday. Saturday, my anxiety came up in a place of panic. I actually had a red rash. This is, I think, one of the worst it's ever been, but a red rash all over my body. And then I went into crying and crying and crying, just crying, tears and tears and tears. Where today it's more like, I'm tired, but I'm also running and I'm also all over the place. So this shit changes and ebbs and flows. And that's where we have to get genius at naming it. Again, does that make it go away? Of course not, but it dispels some of the charge. Because I'm sure you know the deal. When you're experiencing/feeling anxiety, it feels like there's nothing else. It feels like this is truth, this is Bible. But when you have awareness of, hey, I know what this is, it takes away, it dispels some of the charge a little bit. And I'll give you more defined exercises in a moment, but it feels a little bit like, I know what this is, where so often people don't know what it is, so it feels truthful. There's a quote from a metaphysical text, A Course in Miracles, and the quote goes like this. I might butcher it, so that's why I had to think about it. But the quote is, the voice of the ego is a thunderous roar, where the voice of the soul/spirit is a quiet whisper. And how fucking good is that? Because I know for me, just in life, my ego is obviously speaking loud, but oh mama, when you are living and in a bout of real anxiety, oh my God, it's like, that's all that exists. Like that anxiety voice is fucking screaming. Like that voice is screaming. It's the only voice. And I don't know about you, but when I'm in anxiety, I can't even get to my soul. Because I'm so fucking panicked. Like I can't get to my soul. I can't listen to the quiet whisper. That's why so often, and we'll talk about it briefly, but so often, people suggest do mindfulness exercises, do meditation. And if you have the capacity to do that, fabulous. But when you are in a deep fucking spiral spell of anxiety, bitch, the last thing I'm going to fucking do is sit down to goddamn meditate. You know what I mean? Because I feel like death has become me. You know what I mean? Like I feel the flames on my face. Like I feel that. Like I feel so out of control. I feel everything around me is dying. Everything feels 911, red flag. So you're going to say I'm going to sit down and meditate? Oh, hell to the no. And some people can. Some people are like, I'm having anxiety. We all have to gauge where we are. But I know for me, when I'm in deep panic, that ain't going to do it for me. When I'm more on the lighter scale, like, ooh, I feel uncomfortable, I can. But we have to befriend anxiety in a way. I know it sounds counterintuitive because we want this thing to go away. We're like, go away, go away, go away. I don't want you here. But we have to kind of befriend it to know it, to dispel a little bit of the charge. Because when we don't know it, it is that thunderous voice. It is that loud voice that we think, holy shit, this is Bible. I have to believe it. But when we know it, when we're like, hey, babe, like, I know what this is. I know what this panic is. It helps us normalize it, know what it needs, helps us breathe a little bit, and then we can, like that quote, go into the soft whisper. We can go to more alignment, to more peace, to more calm versus panic. So before we jump into tools and techniques and all the fabulous things, I want to tell you about my anxiety journey. And it's funny because I haven't even really fleshed out, and I don't know about you, but I don't even think I fleshed out, or I know I haven't fleshed out my full anxiety journey, because for so long, and it makes me emotional, I didn't have the awareness. So I just thought something was wrong with me, or, oh, I'm dramatic. That was always this, and I mean, I am, but I mean, that's a sidebar, but like, I fucking am. But my family's, God bless them, but the family narrative is, oh, you're so dramatic, or you're this, you're that. And it was like, oh, okay, like propelling and perpetuating this story that I'm broken and something's wrong with me. I think it would have been a little bit more empowering if I knew it was anxiety. So I'll tell you the story of what I know, because again, there's moments I just thought I'm fucked. And I wish I had the awareness that, no, babe, it's just panic. It's just fucking high level anxiety coursing through your body. So I'll take you on my abridged version. Get on the train. We're going the abridged version of Erica's anxiety journey. Buckle the fuck up. It's high stress. No, it's not that high stress. It's all good. So something that when I was writing this episode, I was really, and I'm getting emotional. Maybe my tears haven't stopped from Saturday. But I'm so grateful. First of all, I have such fucking amazing friends, period, point blank, just such amazing friends. And I'm so grateful because the friend that I'm thinking about, I won't say her name, but you know who you are, that I'm thinking about is this person, we were great friends, best friends in high school, and we're still now great friends. This is an amazing human, amazing woman, amazing mom. Amazing friend. She makes me cackle. And I'm so grateful that this person listens to this podcast. And I'm thinking back with tears in my eyes that we could openly share our anxiety journey in high school. Isn't that wild? Because when I talk to clients, so often anxiety is so, and I still feel this, but it's shamed and you're alone. And like the fact that there was 3 of us, my 2 little angel babies, my little brat pack, if you will. And we openly talked about our anxiety. And that's like so fucking cool. Like I think about that and we were talking about that last month and I was like, that was kind of cool that we like could openly have the awareness of what was going on and talk about it. I'm so grateful I had that privilege because so often, especially fucking adolescents, you don't know what the fuck is going on and you don't have people that are experiencing the same level, of anxiety or even deeper, but you have the awareness and you have the language to talk about it. And it was cool because it would be like, you want to sleep over? I'd be like, no, I'm having massive anxiety. Be like, okay, great, feel good. Like we could have that communication and that's a real blessing and I'm really fucking grateful for that. And actually, this person referred me, this is actually really fucking wild, the timing of this, but this person referred me when my anxiety was real bad to one of my therapists that I saw for years. She was seeing her and then I was seeing her. And what's funny is, I'm going on a whole tangent, but recently I've been doing a lot of inner child, we all do inner child. Well, we don't all do inner child work, but inner child work, it's a hot topic, right? And recently I've done so much inner child work, but with my coach, I found, I haven't addressed my like high school version. And she's the one that's like, oh girl, like, I need you the most. And what's really cool is I had this intuitive moment of like, what would be really cool? Like, I don't know what, because I think it would be cool and special and would connect me back to this time is I was like, I kind of want to go to my therapist that I did at that time. Long story short, she's nowhere to be found, but she's nowhere to be found. I just couldn't get in touch with her. I think, her practice may have dissolved, but her daughter is a therapist. And again, this is a, tangent of a story, but it's so cool. And this is fucking anxiety, like it shapes and it shifts and, it's evolved. My anxiety looks very different than it did in high school. But how cool is that years later, I have a different relationship to it. I have more awareness to it. And now I'm going to be working with this woman's daughter. Like that's so, to me, that I think that's cool. And it's interesting. And I don't know, that's a sidebar that I wanted to share with you. And I wanted to, I'm sure some of you are listening to this and like, holy fuck, like you've been dealing with this for a really long time. And I want to be honest, some parts of my life I really worked on this and some I didn't. So I think if I, and this is not from a place of shade or shame on myself, but if I think if I actively worked on this, my anxiety wouldn't be as out to play presently. No shame, no shade, it all happened in perfect timing, reason, whatever, but I don't want to spike anyone's panic by hearing like, oh, fuck, like this bitch has been doing, so I want to normalize, like there was times where I really worked on it and I felt really good. And there was times I had no awareness, no consciousness, and I was in panic mode. And now again, I'm back into a spell of, ooh, I have consciousness. So what did my ass do? I brag. I got that therapist. I'm working with a new coach. I'm getting my ass in, programs to help, be surrounded by people, so I don't want to, perpetuate the story of you're fucked because you're not. It's just having the awareness and the consciousness of, ooh, this is up for me right now. And I know I need to be held. And right now I know I need to be held because it's up for a reason. And I'm grateful that I have the tools and we'll talk about all that. So anyway, let's get to the fucking story. So I had this bad anxiety for honestly, again, I wish I knew earlier, but I had really, really, really bad anxiety. And then just fun life events trigger it, like death and, being bullied by fucking assholes in high school, like really taking things, bullying too far. One day I'll have the courage to talk about that specifically, but it's still so shocking to me. So that, just lots of different things, family dynamics, being an empath, things that are not my stories to share right now. One day maybe people will give me permission, but just a lot of chaos, a lot of fear, a lot of panic was my consistent. And then this story is kind of wild, but so I was very panic. I was very much in a panic, like always in that energy. And I feel it in my chest now. And so just a panic-driven kid. But we didn't have the wording for it. So again, Erica, she's so dramatic. She's so over the top. And wow, I haven't thought about this in a while, but they'd always say, Erica, there's not a stage big enough for you. And I'd be like, oh, but thank you. Thank you. It's true. But no, that discounts all of your truth. And so that's how we got here. And so I was very anxiety-ridden. And I remember telling my family, someone's watching me. Oh, it's so crazy. Someone's watching me from my window. Erica, get the fuck out of here. No one's watching. What are you, nuts? What are you, crazy? What are you, out of your mind? So for months I would sleep, this is wild, I would sleep in the bathroom because the bathroom, there was no windows, and it was much closer to my parents' room. I just was like scared. I wanted to be cocooned and I wanted to be safe. But I understand, like who's watching you in the suburbs? Like who's watching you on the second floor in the suburbs? Like, they'd be like, cut the shit, you're fine. Well, you bitches, someone was watching me. I don't know, to the extent, but this is wild. Take a deep breath. This is a little bit of a extreme situation, but a little bit of a trigger warning. I found out later that my neighbor was murdered, which is wild. But this person they found actually was not pretend. They probably weren't watching, like, I don't even know how old I was, but they probably weren't watching me in my room singing Les Mis. Like, they just weren't. I mean, they probably were, but I don't think they were like, oh, there's Erica. She's a little off on that note singing Fontaine. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they were in my, like, I don't think they were like that much, like watching me be watching, singing Rent and dancing. Like, I don't think it was that, that in depth. They might've been like, oh girl, like, you're a little bit off on the notes, but they weren't so invested. But what they were doing is they were using my side of the house to, and it was a closed incident, you know what I mean? It wasn't like this person was just on a murdering spree, they knew the person that they were going to kill, blah, 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 blah. But they were using my end of the house to hide. Obviously they weren't going to be out and about. So so they found like cigarettes and this and that. They found that outside of my window. Were they watching me sing One Day More? Were they watching me play all of the cast in Rent? Probably not. But they were there and I felt them, and that really spiked my fucking anxiety. Cliff notes. Here we go. So, I'm not even kidding. I was like, that's why I'm joking about Les Mis, but the day I was having really bad fucking anxiety. Hi, being an empath. But I literally, it's with the French flag, singing One Day More, Another Day, Another Destiny, truly playing every part. I was Javert, I was all of them. And I was like, one day more, the whole thing, every part, every harmony. And I had like a panic. And we later found out that my neighbor was murdered, and just how, already being a highly anxious person and how it was treated, it was a very traumatizing event. Rightfully so. So my anxiety kind of bled into OCD tendencies. Again, rightfully so, so even now it affects me. I stand and watch the garage. I'm like, it's closed. With the door, I jingle jangle. I'm like, here comes Santa Claus for 15 minutes. Cause I'm like, it's closed. So this sense of panic is kind of isolated to certain things, but it does still come out, like with the door being closed, with the car being locked, with the, it manifested its way into different areas of my life, these OCD tendencies and this high level anxiety. And again, so grateful because I went to the therapist that my friend recommended. She was great. We did so many different things. I went to her regularly. This was at a time where I was being like, it's fucking insane how badly I was being bullied from this event that happened, and it was just fucking cruel. And so it just was like coming at a pimple pop of a head, like it was ready to juice cheese, and I remember I was having extreme anxiety, extreme OCD of, oh my God, I'm going to be murdered. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like that being coursed through me, then being made fun of by so many people in the school, like fucking assholes, by a story that wasn't even necessarily true. What little turd burglars. And then, I mean, my great friends that stood by me, fucking rock stars, but some kids are assholes. Continuing on. But having that major OCD, major panic, anxiety, then being bullied, and then my grandma passing away at the same time. It just was cause for stress. It just was like, let that pimple pop, like juice it out, cheese it out. It needs to erupt. But thank God I had the resources at the time. I was so privileged to have an amazing therapist I could see weekly. And she did EMDR on me. She did deep, trauma from other things I'm not talking about on the podcast that affected me previously. She talked about all these other things, and I really felt, okay, I feel good. And that's where anxiety is a tricky bitch. Because I thought I was cured. I was good. And, I was never broken. We're never broken. There's nothing ever wrong with us. But I didn't realize that anxiety would shapeshift and take different forms and shapes. And I thought I was done. I thought I was out. I thought I was good. But I didn't realize it was coming up and out in different ways, especially in college. I thought I was good. But isn't that interesting how it's coming up with your food? Or isn't that interesting how it's coming up with alcohol? Isn't it interesting that you are snippy and angry? And it wasn't because I was angry. It was because I was in such a fucking state of panic that I couldn't handle anything else. So I was like, yeah, so it came off like I was aggressive and fresh. But in actuality, I was so overwhelmed with panic, but I didn't have the awareness of that. And like I said, it took very, many forms. It took overeating, undereating, not sleeping, having workaholic tendencies. It took so many forms that, again, I don't think I've even processed and realized. But recently, what's interesting is it came up hard in the dating world. And, there's a whole fucking episode we could talk about this. So, there's different dating / attachment styles. And, they all go in depth. And again, we need to talk about that one day. But, there's being a secure partner, being anxious, being avoidant, an avoidant could be different things. It could be dismissive, fearful, there's all these different types. But I was showing every signal, which is okay, of highly anxious. And that manifested, if someone didn't text me back, I would go into panic. And I was really cute because I was quiet about it. I played cool girl, like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter if it doesn't work. Yeah, totally did. You know what I mean? Like, I worked on the exterior. I'm probably not that cool. My friends would be like, no, you were a fucking hot mess. But on the exterior, I was like, yeah, it's like totally fine. I'm like living my best life. But on the inside, I was like, oh my God, you guys, I'm going to fucking shit my pants. Like the panic that ensued from dating. And again, we need to talk about this, like just attachment styles and how I, help that. And, that's a whole specific episode, to be completely honest. But what was cool, I was like, oh, bitch, like this anxiety shit is back and better than ever. But last year, the year before, whenever it started to really, last year I was still in therapy, and now I'm back with a different therapist. But when I was really, really seriously dating and that shit was back to play, I got my ass back into therapy. I did all the things, and I'm so cute. Again, I'm cute. I'm not really anxiously attached anymore. I'm a secure human. Oh, you bitch. You funny bitch. And again, panic, I didn't realize, came out in other ways. She was a slippery slope. And that's okay. She came out in funny ways. Until announcing my current partnership, where anxiety is pas de bourraying, tap dancing all over the place. She is out to fucking play. And what's cool, what's interesting, is that she looks so different than, again, I have the OCD tendencies from, when I was in high school. But my anxiety now looks so fucking different from anxiety, high school anxiety, Erica. Like high school, I could, Emily will laugh at this. But I would be able to be like, I would not be able to eat, like I wouldn't be able to go up in the lunch line and get food. So I'd be like, and if I would go to a party or something, I'd be like, Emily, pass me a macaroni, pass me a penne, feed me that penne. Like it was so much at play, but like I couldn't even go get my lunch because I was in such a state of panic. Now I'm like, oh bitch, give me the penne with the extra Parmesan on top. Like again, it's manifested, it's shifted in different ways, but she is out and about with the love life, especially when shit is good. Isn't that fucking interesting? Especially when stuff is good, she is out to play. And I want to talk about that. Like it's so funny because we always think like anxiety ensues when shit's bad, which, yeah, duh. But like for me, and I'm sure for you, anxiety is actually up and present when shit's really good for me too. And we'll talk about that. But actually, when shit's really good, I'm even more panicked because my brain thinks, you have more to lose. So when I'm playing small, when I'm coasting, no shade for that. There's always a space for that. But like when I'm playing small, when I'm coasting, when I'm living, kind of, the anxiety's not that bad. There's nothing really, you're like, okay. There's nothing to be threatened. But when I'm playing fucking 120%, when I have a fucking amazing partnership that I cannot believe it's real, when I have amazing clients in a business I love and being written in articles and publications like Cosmo and this and that, and being on podcasts and growing a business. Oh, hello, anxiety. She's come up. Like for me, that's when it's even bigger because it feels like there's more to lose. And it feels like I have to play God and I have to control and I have to manipulate to be okay. And Lord, our poor bodies, like it is such strenuous effort to feel like we have to control everything. So I know for me, yes, when bad shit hits the fan, yeah, I'm a little anxious. But when shit's going well, oh, Susanna, why don't you cry for me? Like it is up. Shit is up and in my face. And I think, I could assume you let me know if that comes up for you, as well, because we're not taught to hold good things. And we're going to talk about this because I think this is a really important piece of the podcast, but like, we're not taught to celebrate good things, to hold good things, and to grieve if good things end. You know what I mean? Like we just like kind of skirt over that topic, but I think there's an important piece that we're not talking about in this society that like, let's normalize feeling good. Let's normalize having a relationship to joy and pleasure. Of course, pain is in there. Like we're not bypassing or being ignorant to the truth, but like let's normalize and teach our kids that it's safe to feel good. Let's celebrate good things. We can hold good things in our body. And yes, if things go bad or, we have to grieve things, yes, there's a space for that. And not teaching kids, us, that it's all rainbows and butterflies, but that we can handle anything. That's, I think, something that I have to reteach myself every day of, yes, Erica, you can hold good things. It's safe to hold good things. You're worthy of holding good things. You can hold good things. You can hold good things. You can hold good things. And when grief strikes, when pain and suffering and the fucked upness of, what's going on in the world happens, you got to feel it. And knowing I can feel it. I have the tools. I will not crumble. I will not die by feeling it. So I think it's really a marriage of that. And we're not taught that. We're taught it's safer to be in blood, sweat, and tears because then we don't have much to lose. You know what I mean? Like then the rug doesn't get ripped out from underneath us. And it's just I feel it now. My body feels like it's been through hell. Because I was in such a state of panic this weekend. It's not a rewarding way to live. And that's why I love doing this work with my clients is teaching them a way, not to say, fuck you, anxiety, go away, because that's not going to do anything, but to have a relationship with the anxiety. Yes, I can both hold anxiety and I can also hold really good things. Yes, I can have a relationship with anxiety and I also can hold pleasure and joy. And I do have the capacity to grieve, and I do have the capacity to move rage through me. And that's what I've talked about this before, but that's what being alive is the capacity to feel deep fucking pain, but also having the capacity to feel deep, real pleasure. And anxiety is a massive key into that work. And it's funny, I talked about this a lot, right? Like it manifests so differently in so many different people. And I was doing this exercise recently with my clients, and we kind of found archetypes for their anxiety. So we would go in through a visualization exercise and find out like what their archetype looks like of anxiety. Who is their anxiety archetype? What do they look like? What do they say? And it's so interesting. And my client, like I said, was so shocked. She's like, I'm so shocked because this manifests so differently in so many different people. You know, like the archetypes we talk about, they all look differently. They all act differently. But some people, their anxiety manifests from being snippy. Like I talked about, because they're so overwhelmed that they're like, I'm so sorry, I can't handle anything else. So they might be snippy or fresh or have an attitude. Other people might manifest through like biting their nails or picking out their hair or, you know, maybe pulling out eyelashes. Like that could be on the spectrum too, you know, all different things. I know for me, like I said, I had that rash this weekend. I am the hottest I'm the hottest girl in the world, but I am the hottest human when I'm in anxiety, just like sweat city. I am sweating. I have migraines. And if you know me, you're like, of course, I consistently have diarrhea. I'm like, I'm going to shit my pants today. And it's funny because I think of all the high stress situations, you know, like auditions and this. And I'm like, I always had diarrhea. It's like, of course you did. You were a fucking nervous wreck. And it's funny. For years I thought I had IBS. I'm like, is it because I'm eating gluten? Is it because it's dairy? It's like, no, bitch. You are in such a state of anxiety and panic. So that's how it, you know, it manifests so differently in the body for everyone, but it also manifests, you know, in an archetype way so differently. You know, for me, this isn't really my anxiety. This is kind of like my, she's kind of like my trigger to my anxiety, but meet Bertha. And when I go inward, there's a archetype, there's a form of me named Bertha. And she's such a bitch. Like, I love her, but she's such a bitch. She's like Big Bertha. She's very judgmental. She wants the best for me. You know, she does want the best for me. She's not evil, but she's like a judgmental bitch. And she's just womp womp energy. You know, she is womp womp. She's like, I'm like, oh, you know, Bertha, like, I'm going to do this. She's like, huh, well, you know, people fail at that. You know, like she's very cynical. It's the very cynical, judgmental version of me. So that's not necessarily my anxiety, but that bitch triggers my anxiety all the time because I'm like, oh, Bertha, great news. You know, or like I'm excited, right? I'm like, great news. I just gained an amazing fucking client, or I just was published in Cosmo. And then Bertha comes in like the bitch that she is and is like, oh, well, you know, the whole article on Cosmo wasn't about you. It was just a few paragraphs, you know, like I'm like, you, and then she's really cute. She has her like gas pedal on the anxiety. And then I'm like, no, maybe it wasn't that good. You know, like, so Bertha is my trigger to one of my triggers to anxiety. And when I was working with clients this week, you know, it's funny because we're all feeling the panic. So I was like, all right, we're all doing this exercise. But some people's anxiety manifests as a childlike, you know, like, like the panic of like, I need attention. Others manifested like, you know, strict bitches, you know, like, you know, and more like, give me your attention, more like dominatrix vibes. So it's so interesting that we all, you know, we experience this, but it takes form and shape so differently in our bodies and in our minds. And I think why that's important is that way we have the awareness. I know I talked about that earlier, but instead of me being like, fuck, it's truth, it's Bible, I could be like, Bertha, girl, I love you so much. I love you, B. I know there's a reason why you want to talk to me, but like, let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? I can normalize the anxiety a little bit more instead of having her take charge, take over, and letting her be the truth. And these archetypes are not evil inside of us. You know, anxiety is not evil. It's not bad. Usually it started from a place of goodness. You know, the anxiety sometimes when it was formed wanted to protect us. You know, it saw something was wrong or, you know, and it was like, hey, I'm actually trying to protect you. You know, I'm 12 steps ahead to make sure that you're okay and safe. So often anxiety is not rooted in evil. It's rooted in wanting you to be okay and wanting you to be safe. Where it gets frustrating and problematic is the coding around it, you know, is like the feeling the panic, feeling overwhelmed, feeling like you can't be present. So what I always suggest to clients is how can we extract, almost like a diamond, like how can we extract the lesson the anxiety is trying to teach? So an example is, you get a new job. And for someone that might be an anxiety-inducing situation. And so instead of being so taken by the anxiety, what my suggestion to my clients is, okay, what is the anxiety trying to teach us? Like a diamond, can we extract the lesson? And maybe the anxiety is like, hey, I'm freaking out because, you didn't ask about the 401k. I'm trying to think of things, this, and this, like actual real problems. And I say, okay, like a diamond, how can you extract the real issues? Like pretend if you're moving. I'm trying to think of other examples that we all go through. Pretend you're moving. Okay, I'm fucking freaking out. Will I be able to pay rent? Will I do this? Okay, like a diamond, can we extract it? Okay, can you put a few months of rent aside? I'm down to get behind the action steps or what we can logistically do that the anxiety is trying to help us with. But then how can we kind of let go, shed of the panic and the fear around it? Right? So again, it's like I'm seeing like this diamond almost like I don't know why I'm seeing pizza dough, but it's like pizza dough, So it's like ripping that diamond out, getting the lesson. How can we serve that? Because there is truth to that. But with the pizza dough, it's like, can we roll it up and toss it? Like we don't need the panic. We don't need the fright. We don't need the anxiety around it. And that's something, this is a very 101 version, but this is what I work deeply with my clients is, okay, how can we extract the good stuff? How can we have a relationship to Bertha? Your version of Bertha. How can we have a relationship to them where we normalize this and instead of the panic feeling so real, we know what's happening. We know how to have a conversation with them. We know how to extract the lesson from the pizza dough, but we let this shit go. We have a relationship to this. And I talk about this every episode. I have so much to talk about on anxiety, so I'm going to make it quick. But if you know the deal, if you listen to this podcast before, every month what I do, I open up a few spots in my one-on-one coaching for free and I close them. And it's a free 60-minute session. We go in, we do a mini session. I want you to leave with tools and tips and all of the good things because I want this work to be accessible to everyone. And then I close up shop. I close the calendar, and the spots are gone. So I only have a limited amount of spots for free, and then I close up. So while you're listening to this, multitask. You got this. Go to www.wethelight.org and be sure to grab one of my spots. I already know now, I'm thinking about my calendar, it's a little cray. So you want to book that shit up as quick as possible. Like I said, it's a free 60-minute session. We talk about what you might have gotten from this podcast. What do you want to work on? We do a mini session. And then if we're fit to work together, God bless America. I'd be thrilled. If we're not, God bless America. You have another cheerleader on your side. So I don't want to spend too much time talking about it because we have so much to talk about anxiety. But in the meantime, go to www.wethelight.org and book that shit up. And if that feels too invasive to you, I have tons of other free shit to do. I know sometimes people are like, oh, a call feels too invasive. I think it's a great call because it's an amazing free resource. But if that feels too much, I get it. Go to the website. I also have, if you sign up for my newsletter, you have access to my blog. I also have an amazing free ebook. So get up there, get on the list, and you have amazing tools coming to you, which we all need fucking tools and resources and being held and being seen. So go do that. So there's a lot. This conversation's very nuanced. I'm already like, I'm having anxiety because I'm like, I want to talk to you about so much. But a big piece of anxiety is having the support that you need, working with coaches, working with therapists. Again, this conversation's nuanced because not everyone has the privilege to do so, which is, of course, why I make so many free resources for people because I want them to have it in. Again, go get my stuff. But, having a good coach, having a good therapist is so, so, so needed. And if you need a therapist and you're like, help, I'm on a budget, I'm happy to help you. So definitely go to my website, shoot me an email, DM me on Insta at wethelight_LLC. I'll help you set you up, with a coach or an affordable therapist. I will help you get into the space that you need. I really want to point you in a direction that would feel safe and nourishing because anxiety fucking sucks. And I'm with you and I want you to be held and supported through this journey. It's funny, right? Because shame is also a huge part of anxiety. And so often when we have anxiety, we don't talk about it. We don't share it with other people. And that's what the beauty of, first of all, coaches and therapists, they can give you tools. But talking to someone on the reg normalizes this conversation. It dispels the charge and the embarrassment and the shame, and it makes it more normal. And so often, anxiety is rooted in trauma. And so that's why I always suggest working with, people like me, a great therapist. So today I'm giving you the very 101. I mean, this conversation could go on for hours. I'm giving you the very, very 101. But if you do suffer from anxiety, this should be your start and not your end game. So my suggestion is start with this, listen to this, get my free resources. Let me help you point, to a therapist or a coach. And it's a journey. Like I said, I've been dealing with this in different shapes and shades and all the things for so long. So this is an invitation to keep the work going. Just because it supports you, it helps you feel better and more nourished. So I am on your fucking side. I'm with you, cheering you on. I'm happy to support you in whatever capacity. If it's working with you one-on-one, if it's helping you get a therapist, if it's helping you point into groups, I'm happy to be in your corner, a cheerleader for you, rocking, cheering you on and holding you through this. So I wanted to talk about the basics of how I fucking cope. I have the privilege of working, with a really good therapist, with a really good coach, being in programs. But I wanted to give you the 101, which you could start to apply today. And before we get into that, I just wanted you to let yourself off the fucking hook. Anxiety, I know for me, my shade is very cruel. It's really cruel and demanding. And anxiety is always telling me, you're fucked. You're hopeless. This is just the way you're going to live. And that's not fucking true. Anxiety isn't truth. Anxiety is not your truth. It's a loud, thunderous voice, but the voice of the spirit, the voice of the soul is soft. Your truth is that you are whole. The truth is that you're loved. The truth is that you're lovable. So just be kind to yourself before we go into these tools, because anxiety always loves to shame us, make us wrong. And I just wanted to normalize that for us, to the best of your ability. Again, easier said than done. Have compassion for where you are. We're all going to stumble. Like I said, I've stumbled for years. I would go in for a long time and then I'd stumble out of it. And then I'd go in. We're going to stumble. But it's just getting back up. It's getting and coming back and snapping back. And okay, I'm committed to this. So don't shit on yourself if you took a break or you're in a weird spot. It's all good. It's all good. It's just, okay, from a loving, compassionate place, how can I get myself back up? How can I get myself supported? How can I be compassionate with myself during this very triggering time? And remember, anxiety is telling you that whatever you're dealing with is the most important. It's like a fight. Anxiety is so genius because it's always telling you that thing is so important. And then you deal with that thing and then it moves to the next thing. So we talked about before jobs and moving, right? So pretend you're having anxiety about a job. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Then you go to the job and everything's good. And then you're like, okay, but Erica, oh my God, you have no fucking idea. That was nothing. This house search is going to be so stressful. And anxiety is genius because it always makes something the most fucking important thing. And it's usually 12 steps ahead of you. It's usually 12 steps ahead of you. It's like putting out a fire that is not even a spark yet. It's like, get the team, 911, fire department, I need you. And it's like, hold on, a spark hasn't even been lit yet, but the team is up in arms trying to put out the fire. And you address the thing, and usually, you're trying to address this thing that may not even be a fucking thing yet. And like I said, anxiety isn't inherently wrong. It usually wants the best of us. We just have to extract what it is instead of forget the firefighters, burn out the fire. It's not about burning out the fire. Yes, we do need to self-soothe and take good care of ourselves, but can we get the lesson out and kind of, the fire example, we are in a state of fire when we're anxiety. How can we self-soothe? How can we have pleasure to kind of calm the panic, calm the anxiety? And what's great is anxiety usually is never in the present moment. Usually anxiety is future tripping 45 steps ahead, or it's in the past ripping you apart, being like, you're a piece of shit, you fucked up, Anxiety is rarely in the now. So my invitation, this is another 5-hour conversation, is how can I keep coming back to the present moment? Here I am right here, right now. My 5 senses, that gets us back to the here and now. And usually that helps dispel some of the charge. You also may be surprised by the suggestion, and I'm going to make a wild argument, how, therapy and all these things, but pleasure, this is crazy, really help my anxiety. And why this is because anxiety is always telling us, you should be red flags out. You should be in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. It's a red light, holy shit situation. But what pleasure intuitively does is it counteracts that. Because pleasure slows us down. It's telling us, go slow. And pleasure tells the body and it tells the mind, hey, babe, it's safe to slow down. We're safe. We're safe. You can't feel real deep pleasure while being in panic. I mean, you can. There's actually, tools to kind of alchemize the panic and the fury. But when you're steeped in real pleasure, you can tell someone when they're really breathing, when they're really feeling yumminess and safety. And I want you to be sure to catch out, because there's so many conversations about pleasure. It's sexual, sensual, but it's also just being the pleasure of being alive. And when you're really encaptured, when you're really in that moment, it tells the body, oh, I'm safe to slow down. I'm safe. And anxiety tells the body, I'm not safe. Run. Systems alert. So pleasure actually really, again, surprisingly, counteracts this panic. And I talked about this before, but recently when I tapped into my anxiety, I noticed, holy shit, I feel so overwhelmed to feel good things, to hold good things. There's a worthiness conversation, but it feels scary to have everything go well because of the fear it's going to be ripped out underneath me. So pleasure was really helpful here because it teaches me, go with me on this, it teaches me I can hold good things, right? Because if I'm in panic, that's what I know. It's muscle memory. I know anxiety like the back of my hand. But when I allow myself pleasure, first of all, I'm stacking evidence in my body and mind like, oh, wait, things are going good. It's telling the body, it's telling the brain like, hey, wait, things are actually, okay, wait, this is actually good. And it's creating this ripple effect in my body that it's safe to hold good things. Even if it's like, oh, it's safe to breathe while drinking this kombucha. It's creating this narrative, like I said, in the brain, the body, that I can hold good things. It's safe to hold good things. So here's a pro tip, and you might want to write this down. I'm happy to send this to you. My question to you is what I would ask yourself, and I tell my clients this on the reg. They have more advanced tools, but what I have them do is I ask themselves to check in throughout the day. Is what I'm doing pleasurable? And sometimes there's, when we're grieving, or there's some situations that this does not apply. But for most of the mundane, going through life, I have them ask, is this, even working, even going to DMV, is this pleasurable? What's the scale? If it was a scale, where would it be on the scale? And if it's on a 10, can we crank it up a little bit? I don't need you to go to a 10, but how can we add a little bit more pleasure? And again, when you keep checking in and you keep doing that for yourself, the body brain feels, oh, I'm worthy of good things. Oh, I can hold good things. Oh, maybe I don't always need to be in a state of real sheer panic and fear. And something I noticed, this is quite the conversation, but something I noticed my clients were doing for a while that suffered from anxiety was they were playing God. And what playing God is, and it means for me, is like having faith or having no faith that things will work out. And yeah, there's a good reason for that. If you've experienced a lot of trauma or any trauma, you're like, how am I supposed to fucking trust? You know what I mean? So I understand, like, bitch, how the fuck am I supposed to trust? I have so much shit. I have so much evidence that things do not work for me. So then you're asking me to trust and then be fearful that it's going to be ripped out. So that is a big piece of this conversation that we have to address. But so often I see that trauma and I see that bad experience and still that fear that you can't have things work in your favor. So I so fucking get it. And what I do with my clients is I teach them that you can hold that trauma. We don't have to minimize it or bypass it or say, everything's okay. Everything's working out for me. Can we hold that trauma? Can we hold that? And can we have a relationship with something bigger for us? Believe in something that's a little bit bigger for us, that, things are working in our favor. And I remember recently, I was seeing it. I was seeing people play God, and that's where the panic and the manipulation, and I have to control because I'm so fearful because shit has gone so wrong for me in the past. So that's why it's like, I have to control everything. I have to control everything so it makes sure I'm okay. It's from a good place of, I want to make sure everything was okay. I want to make sure my ducks in a row. But it's so funny. Like I said, I was having this spiritual smackdown for my mom. I was drinking a LaCroix in the kitchen. She's smoking a cigs. And she turned to me and she said, you got to stop playing God. You're not God. You're not the universe. And I was like, I know. And she's like, you got to trust that's what is for you is not going to pass you. And she said, you completely lost your faith. And and I think faith looks, and this is a whole fucking conversation, but faith looks differently for everyone. Some people are traditional faith people, where God is in the sky, he has a white beard. That's great. Some people it's, in goddess circles. Some people it's their cat Fluffy. Some people it's the universe. Some people it's angels. Some people it's, I'm not sure yet, but I trust some cosmic magic. And I think that's a big part of this conversation, and figuring out what your faith looks like. And I don't want to get, this is such a touchy fucking subject, but what your faith looks like for you. Because when you have, I hate the word faith, but you get what I'm saying. When you have trust, I should say, you don't feel like you're alone. And when I was in the worst of my anxiety, I felt very alone. I felt like I had to control and manipulate, and I was playing God and I was playing the universe, and of course we have to take action step to survive, but I felt like I wasn't being held, and I felt like I wasn't being supported. And a huge part of my anxiety relief was trusting there's something bigger outside of me. And sometimes it is God. Sometimes it's goddess. Sometimes it's the universe. Sometimes it's, angels. Sometimes I'm like, I don't fucking know, but I want to believe, sometimes I'm like, I'm questioning all of this shit, but I'm like, I want to believe. I want to believe that there's something out there rooting for me, supporting me, loving me. And, I want to believe that things are working out. It's all working. And knowing I am going to fall. I am going to have trials and tribulations. I'm going to have amazing times and grief and horrendous times. And I know, and I want to know, I can trust myself to handle the whole scope of it. But faith was a huge piece for me in the anxiety journey because I felt like I was at it alone. But when I remembered and I believed that things are working out for me in whatever fucking weird ass mysterious way, and what's for me will not pass me, I can kind of breathe a little bit, even if it's, even if that's your truth or not, like believing that I'm not just alone in this universe, and I'm not just alone fighting and suffering, but believing I can lean into something. That took away a huge piece of anxiety for me. Mindset was another piece. My anxiety was at its lowest when I was practicing mindset every day. Go to the mindset episode. That bad boy's packed with juicy tidbits about mindset. And it's a really good tool episode. But when I was doing my mindset work every day, I was fucking confronting the crunchy crawlies of my brain. I was seeing like the nasty ass thoughts that would come out, and I could counteract them instead of them being my truth. But when I wasn't doing mindset every day or regularly, I wasn't confronting them. So these like crunchy ass nasty thoughts were just bleh, like sitting on the top. When I was doing mindset work, I was like, bitch, that ain't real. I see you. I see why you're fearful. But I had the ability to counteract. Definitely go listen to the mindset podcast episode because there's so much juice about how to do that and all that. And I have PDFs and I'm happy to send you all the stuff. But mindset is a huge, huge component for this. Being embodied is too, right? Because anxiety manifests in the body, right? Like I talked about. I'm shitting my pants every 5 minutes. I have my neck is full of tension. I have migraines, but it starts in the brain. Usually it starts in the brain. Sometimes we have gut feelings and all that, but a big part of anxiety manifests, loves to podberate in the brain. So a great way to counter anxiety is by being in your body instead of the brain. So that's my invitation for this is like, how can I get into my body? And again, sure, would I love you to do a meditation or a sensual movement? But when you're in anxiety, you're like, I can't feel that. So it's like, can we build tools for you that are simple, that help you? Maybe it's just, okay, I'm having anxiety right now, but sensationally in my body, I feel tension in my left shoulder. Okay, let's go through a 5 senses exercise. Maybe it's, okay, and go through your 5 senses, what all that you're experiencing now. Another exercise I love to do is in the room right now when you're having anxiety, can you name 3 things that make you safe? Okay. I'm having anxiety right now, but 3 things that make me safe. Okay. I have a phone next to me, so if I need to call 911, I can, or I have my phone, so if I need to call friends to support me, I see that I'm by a door. If I need to get out, and I feel safety because a family member lives 5 minutes away. You know what I mean? Like you want to call out the reasons why you're safe. self-soothing. And there's so many ways to self-soothe. People do different exercises with the body and the mind. Again, I'm happy to talk about that with you, but how can we build a repertoire of self-soothing exercises that feel manageable? Because when you're in the panic, it's like, bitch, I'm not reaching for those tools. So we want to build a toolbox. Again, this conversation is so rich, but I wanted to give you some baby steps, right? So let's frame all about what we just talked about. Like we'll go backwards. Embodiment. So when I'm fucking freaking out, how can I make safety in my body? Which again is pleasure. And there's many fights for pleasure here. But when I'm in anxiety, how can I get back to my body? Is it breathing? Is it touching, my shoulder? Is it putting a hand over my heart? Getting embodied in health, having self-soothing practices that feel nourishing. I know some people, when they're in such a state of panic, they will have put ice on their body, or they might put heat, so again, creating a practice that feels rich to you. I'm also here to help you with that. Mindset. You could do a mindset practice every day, which is what we talked about, but also being willing and going there in the reg to counteract your thoughts. So when you're like, I'm freaking out, everything's gonna go bad, blah, 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 blah. Hey, getting good at counteracting those thoughts that feel really fucking real. Extracting anxiety like it's a diamond, right? So, okay, I'm having this anxiety. Okay, asking the anxiety, hey, babe, like a diamond, what do you want me to know? What do you want me to teach? What are you trying to teach me? What are you trying to say? Like a diamond, can we extract that lesson and let go of the shame, let go of the panic, let go of the fear? Archetypes. And again, I do this heavily with my clients. What is the archetype? And can we have a conversation with them? So instead of just being like, I'm having anxiety, fuck. Hey, Bertha. Hey, Maria. Hey, John, whoever it is. How can we have a conversation with them? Because especially with Bertha, she's funny. I laugh sometimes, which also helps dispel the anxiety. You know what I mean? It's not as serious. I'm like, Bertha, you bitch. And she's like, I know. And it helps me dispel some of the charge and the panic and the realness. So having that communication with the anxiety, talking with them, what do you need? How can I support you? But also being like, Bertha, I love you, babe. I know you're trying to support me. And I got this. I'm going to give this to my higher self. I'm going to give this to the version that can handle this. We talked about pleasure. Go to the pleasure episode. Talk to me. This is my wheelhouse. Pleasure. Pleasure helps us feel safe. It helps us remember we can hold things. It builds a dialogue within the brain and the body that we can hold good things. We're worthy of holding good things. We talked about faith and how you can reform your version of faith. And this is a whole fucking, there's so much charge and confusion. Our culture has a really interesting relationship with faith because there's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of trauma around faith and stickiness. But and again, this is a big component of what I do with my clients that want to do this is, how can I have a renewed relationship to faith that doesn't look, what society painted for me? What's my relationship to faith? What's my relationship to something that's bigger than me that I can lean into and that I can trust? And then we talked about being in the now. And again, being in the now is usually being in pleasure. Instead of being noticing, okay, I'm 55 steps ahead, or oh my God, I'm fucking tripping from the past from 5 years ago. How can I keep coming back? How can I keep coming back to the moment? I could talk about this fucking topic for hours. And this conversation's so nuanced, right? I dropped so many bombs, but we can, like an onion, we can pick and open so much of this conversation. And it affects people so differently. It manifests so differently. And I really invite you, if you are affected by this, to reach out. I'm happy to support you. I'm happy to hold you. It's a big conversation. And I know the deep suffering that anxiety can bring. Again, I could talk about this for hours. This is the freaking whipped cream on top. We didn't even get to the deep, we didn't even get there. We just skimmed the surface. But I know there's deep suffering that comes with anxiety. So please know that I am wrapping you with just the biggest, juiciest, loving hug. I see you. I fucking feel you deeply. You heard my tale. I'm affected by this shit pretty regularly. You're not alone. You're not stuck. You're not broken or fucked or need to be fixed. There's nothing wrong with you. There's tools. There's things that can help you loosen the chains that anxiety creates. And I love you so much. I'm proud of you for even listening to this podcast and putting one foot in front of the other. And that's how it works sometimes with anxiety, just putting one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And I'm here to support you, put another foot and another foot and another foot forward. And I love you. I really do. And hold on to that faith in whatever shape, whatever form it comes up, that it can get better. And even if you have no faith, know that I have faith in you and I'm believing in you. Even from afar, I'm cheering you on. Even if we never come in contact, if we never speak, I have faith. I'm holding you. I'm fucking loving the shit out of you. I love you. You're brave. You're beautiful. You got this. I'm cheering you on and I'm here to support you. I love you. Taking a deep breath, knowing that it's safe, knowing that you're worthy, and knowing that you can hold good things. I love you, boo. Thank you. Seriously, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode and on this podcast journey. And if you loved what we talked about today and you know another human who could definitely benefit from what was discussed, I would so appreciate if you would go ahead and share this podcast with them. Don't forget, hit subscribe or follow so you never ever miss an episode. And the great news is you can always follow me, my work, my blog, my podcast on my website at www.wethelight.org. And hey, remember, life is so much brighter when we shine. I'll see you next time.